Here we go. Welcome back to another edition of the Wolverine.com podcast. This is our Skype edition with Doug Skene. Doug, it's good to see your face, man. First things first here. Are you ready to unveil your beach bod, man? You got to do this read, and it says you're in luck because our friends at Manscaped just launched their fourth generation performance package, which includes the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. Complement your summer bod Skene with a trim from the leaders in male grooming. Tracy, your wife will appreciate it. The sun is shining and calling your name, fellas. Join the 2 million men worldwide, including me, who trust Manscaped and get ready for hot guy summer by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code 20GoBlue. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code 20GoBlue. So, man, I got to tell you, it's a great product. I've gotten it for my kids. I've gotten it for me. Going to get it for my dad for Father's Day. If he watches this, you're welcome. So probably get one for you, buddy. So, and your wife can thank you later. So it is really a great product. So, all right, let's talk. First things first, man. Heard you on the Huge Show the other day. You did a great job as always, talking about Dr. Anderson. And I think there were a few people who kind of misunderstood what you were saying. And we had a lot of stuff on the message board saying that you were abused and you didn't know it and so on and so forth. I want you to clarify here what exactly you said on the Huge Show and your thoughts on Dr. Anderson.
Well, what I said was, and we were in the conversation, we were going back and I was recalling my experiences having physicals and the few times that I was sick or had an issue to go see Dr. Anderson. And what I talked about was, the annual physicals, which for me were absolutely as normal as any other physical that I had ever had in my life. High school or beyond college, in the NFL, they were all the same, nothing unusual. But I did share a story once about how I think I had gone for the flu or something, and I went to see Dr. Anderson, and I ended up getting another hernia exam at the same time, which I thought was a little unusual, but it was the same hernia exam. It wasn't anything unusual other than the timing of it. So as I look back and I thought to myself, well, maybe that was unnecessary for sure because it was within the same calendar year as I had already gotten a physical. But for me, I don't look back on that, and I didn't feel like I was a victim. I didn't feel that way at the time. I don't feel like that way now. And so I can understand how other people may define what they consider to be abuse or being the victim, and if they were in that situation. But I don't feel that way. So that's how I've moved on. But I also clarified in my conversation on the Huge Show that other guys had other experiences, and they were far different than mine. And I know some people that had these experiences. And at the time, what we were told was, hey, Doc A is one of the premier urologists in the country. So, this guy's an expert, right? And we've heard that before from some of these creepy doctors now that we look back in the course of time, we know that, yeah, they may have been a good doctor. They may have known the science really well, but they were also a creep. And obviously this was the case with Dr. Anderson, as we now know. So some guys had very different experiences, and I'm not going to get into the business of telling anybody else how they should or shouldn't feel about what happened to them or what they should or shouldn't do now. And so that includes me. So anybody that feels like I should be doing something that I'm not doing, well, okay, thanks for your opinion, but I'm not a victim. I don't feel like a victim. It didn't bother me then. It doesn't bother me now. I'm moving on. I just don't want to own the drama here for me, Balas, for me. And so I feel terrible about what happened to guys and the guys that feel like they've been abused, not knowing what they've done. They feel like they were taken advantage of, and that's absolutely normal. And I support my former teammates that feel that way, and that's okay. I just personally, I'm not in that camp. So, but I support my teammates.
Yeah. Hearing from people on campus yesterday, it sounds like the Regents are going to act, at least one or two, on the Schembechler statue and taking the name off the building. I want your thoughts on that because obviously that's a guy who was very special to you. I remember calling you when Bo died, in 2006. We were on the way down to Columbus, and you were in tears, man. And it wasn't just you; it was all these guys that we spoke with. Had such an impact on your lives,
Right.
And so, your thoughts on the possibility of that statue coming down and basically his name being erased from campus?
It's real for me. It's disappointing, and what I know now as a 51-year-old is different than what I knew as a 21-year-old. So I have a little bit different perspective now, but I still have an enormous amount of gratitude and thankfulness for the opportunity in which Bo Schembechler gave me, and the impact and the course direction of my life because of the chance I was given at Michigan and the opportunity that I got a chance to be a part of those team coaches and the guy positive way. And the things I learned from watching and being around him and his coaches, many of whom I still keep in contact to this day, still has had a positive impact on my life and a positive impact on my children and a positive impact on hopefully my coworkers and other things that I do in my life. Those are the things that I hold most dear from my time of being exposed and being around Bo Schembechler. Now, I also said in the interview with Huge, and I've told people that ask me all the time, what's going on with this Doc A thing? How do you feel about the Bo thing? I don't want the statue being taken down because although it looks and appears like Bo may have been aware to a degree that something fishy may have been going on, for me, it doesn't negate all the positivity and the good things that the man instilled in thousands of people were positively impacted. So I think we can safely say that Bo Schembechler may not have been perfect, and that shouldn't be a shock to anybody. As I said in the Huge interview, Balas, no one's perfect. We all make bad decisions, myself included. Sadly, probably too often. I hope I'm getting better, as we all try to get. There was only one perfect person that ever walked the face of this earth, and we all know what happened to him. And so, if the standard is perfection, and if the standard is nothing short of perfection, and there's some sort of line drawn that some arbitrary rule gets to be drawn up as the generations change into the future, you might as well take all the names down and everything ever. Just take them all down, because no one has led a perfect life. And now we know, based on what I read from yesterday's discussion of some of the former players, that some guys feel like now Don Canham was the one who should have been the one pulling the trigger. So I guess you better take Canham's name off of the swimming building down there in Ann Arbor. So again, just take all the names down. And if that's going to be the standard, I think it's safe to say that this whole renaming and taking names and statues down across the country in the context of the era at which they lived and the era at which they made decisions and did things are far different than where they are now. We, as hopefully a society, are better than we were 50 years ago, 100 years ago. I think we could look around and say we are better. We treat people hopefully with more respect nowadays than we ever did back then. So this goes back to the Fielding Yost discussion that you and I had. And so I'm not a fan of taking the name down, because who's next? And who's next after that? And it'll never stop. You can just continue to erase names forever. So I freely admit that Bo was not perfect, because guys apparently said things to Bo and felt like things weren't right, and he didn't do enough, whatever. The players in this situation, the Doc A situation, they're all gone. They're gone and passed on. And so taking the name down is not going to change what happened. And yet for future generations, this is, again, my opinion, for future generations, the positive things that Bo instilled in so many people, you take his name down, you take the statue down, some of those lessons might be lost. I don't know, Balas, but as I also said in the Huge show, they're going to rip his statue down. They're going to take his name down. But for me, that's not going to change what I know. The coach that I had and the positive things that I still live with to this day are still there. Take a statue down, it doesn't change what I think.
And I'm guessing that the same is true for a lot of your teammates and the guys in your circle that you've spoken with?
Yes, absolutely. Feel the same. Again, I can loosely speak for them, but I will not officially speak for them. The guys feel a lot the same. Although no one's perfect, we love the man because of the opportunity that he gave us and the program that he gave us a chance to be a part of, and the lessons that we learned, again, that we are instilling in our lives today. and moving on and passing on to hopefully our children the discipline, the hard things that we had to do because it was the right thing to do. That's kind of how we feel. And it obviously you get varying emotions out there, Balas. There's a lot of guys that feel really, really strongly about this. And like I said just a few seconds ago, you can take a statue down and take his name off of there. It's not going to change the way we feel about him.
Yeah, no question about it. I actually had a chance to talk to Schembechler. I feel really bad for the family, obviously, and this has been really hard on them as well. Obviously, feel bad for the victims of Dr. Anderson. I want to make that perfectly clear as well.
Yeah.
But man, it's a tough time for everybody. So let's lighten it up here a little bit. I wanted to get your opinion on the no red in Schembechler Hall edict. Now, somebody said that Gittleson had that too, and he said, "Get that red shit off of here," or something like that.
Yeah.
And to that, no. And
Balas, what I guess my question is, when did that rule stop? Because that was the rule forever. You weren't allowed to wear red or green in any way, shape, or form in that building for 30 years. So when did it stop? I wasn't aware of that, and although sadly it doesn't surprise me now, because it's just another.
I'll guess it stopped with Rich Rodriguez. That's just my guess.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. But there's nothing red, and I did read some about red Gatorade, and I was trying to think, man, did we ever have red Gatorade around when I was there? And I don't think we did. We had the original yellow Gatorade, which I still think is the best to this day. And so no, red wasn't allowed. I remember Kurt Mallory, who's still a very good friend of mine. His dad was the head coach at Indiana. Yeah. And I remember I ended up with like an Indiana University shirt or something like that, and I happened to wear it in the building. I was immediately thrown out of the building because A, it was Indiana, but B, it was also red. So that was that. We talk about the intensity around the rivalries, and red was never acceptable. And I don't own any green shirts to this day, Balas, although I do have one red T-shirt, and I only wear it in very selective situations, which is typically when I'm working out and I get it sweaty and gross.
I know exactly what that one is. I'm not on board with it. I just want to make that clear. But I appreciate you supporting your friend. So, and no, it's not Ohio State. So I can't imagine that we'd ever see you in any OSU gear. So did you ever see you get kicked out of the building by Gittleson or ripped on for wearing red or green?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I remember guys walking in wearing some portion of their shirt or whatever was green or red, and Mike across the weight room would yell and say, "Get the hell out of the building. Get that shirt out of here now. Do not come back until you're wearing something that is obviously Michigan." And so, that went on for 30 years in that building, Balas.
Yeah. Real quick, again, call to action. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code 20GoBlue at manscaped.com. 20% off plus free shipping with the code 20GoBlue at manscaped.com. Escape the shrubs and weeds this summer and shine with Manscaped, Skene. So, again, I'm going to do Tracy a favor and I'm going to hook you up, man. So, let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the building this summer. First of all, this distraction, will this be something that these guys is this going to be something that affects them, in your opinion, as they prepare for the season?
Yeah, I hope not. This football team, this program's up against enough challenges of their own without this. I wouldn't think that it would. You and I were talking the other day, Balas, and now for these young men in the building and on the team now, Coach Schembechler is, a historical figure, a lot like when I was there. Fielding Yost was a historical figure that you knew about because of the presence in and around the building, and you saw some of the old film and you knew some of the history and the success that the football team had because of him. But I wouldn't think, and I hope not, that this current team is going to have their performance and ability to go out, block, and tackle be affected because of the situation going on with what happened with men that are long passed away at this point. So I don't think that it will. I hope that it doesn't. And I hope that people that cover this team in the general media don't force them to become a distraction with this topic, because it's, like I said earlier, it's hard to win. And this team right now is having a hard time winning in big games. So hopefully they keep that focus. But I don't think that it would. It wouldn't for me. I would be focused on my team and what I'm going to do.
Back when you played long ago now, hard to believe how long it's been, 30 years. What were you doing? Was it optional, these workouts? Did you have to stay in Ann Arbor, or did you just understand that, hey, we'd better?
It's totally optional. The summer times were voluntary, but the leadership of the roster, not the coaches, the roster leadership, the juniors and seniors that wanted to have a great junior and senior year and win a championship, they all hung around. We were there in the summertime because in order to win championships, that's what teams had to do. You had to stay in Ann Arbor, which as a young guy, you think is some sort of sacrifice because you want to go home and be hang out with your high school buddies and your family, etc. But you quickly realize how much fun, at least we had at the time in Ann Arbor in the summer times, going over and playing volleyball. Or I remember playing softball over there at Elbell Field across from the natatorium and the band facility there now. I'll never forget Greg Skrepenak hitting a softball over the railroad tracks in left field. From that little softball field. Yes, just absolutely crushed the ball. And you know, when you played the hot corner in the softball night and Screp is up to bat, or Dean Dingman and some of these guys, you better watch out because you get killed out there playing. And there's so much fun Balas has had in the summertime. And I look back at our teams that I had a chance to be a part of, and that's when we bonded. That's when the camaraderie really, really grew. You and I have shared stories about John Vitale and the infamous night where he threw 30 hamburgers on a grill, and me, Steve Everett, and Joe Cacuzo were all like, "Oh my God, we have to eat these because Captain Vitale just cooked them all." We weren't planning on eating 30 hamburgers, but Vitale cooked them. Those kind of memories still burned into my head to this day. They're all good. They're positive. I look back on them, and that's when we came together because we spent so much time together and had fun fishing up on the river there, the Huron River, going canoeing. We just had so much fun in the summertime. It's a good thing that guys stay around, but none of it was required, but you wanted to be there.
Yeah. Now, did Dingman like grease the ball on his permed head when he was pitching? Get a little
Yeah. Dingman had that mullet going, and so he had that.
It got a little curly.
Yeah, he got a little curly in the back there, but
he was a badass, though, wasn't he?
Yes, absolutely, he was, and one of the strongest guys I ever seen push weight around the weight room. And you know, you get these football players, and people don't realize you get these guys outside of a football field on a volleyball court or a bowling alley or on a softball field or playing wiffle ball or basketball
or a golf course.
Or a golf course, the mentality stays the same. You desperately want to win and beat your opponent. So we did all these things, and we still do them today. We're just much, much older, Balas. We don't move quite as fast.
Yeah, I saw the late Ben Huff hit a golf ball about 400 yards once on the golf course. And I remember seeing Leroy Horde, believe it or not, way back in the day after he got drafted. It was the day after he got drafted, I believe, and he was wearing his Cleveland Browns gear after he got drafted by the Browns. And this guy's taking it pretty seriously, man. So it's in you, man. When you want to be the best at football, you want to be the best at everything else, man.
At everything. You just want to win at everything. You know, Glenn Steele is one of the best golfers that you would never think of.
Yeah.
Apparently Steele, and I don't know how much Glenn plays anymore, but I know he was a single-digit handicap and like a low single-digit handicap, and that was a common knowledge thing, but you wouldn't know that in the media guide at the time. But this is, again, voluntary stuff, but looking back on it, those were some of the most important times as a team, and you're also getting in the best shape of your life going into the season so that when that fall camp starts, you're ready to go. And so I don't know what the numbers are here this summer for the team to be in Ann Arbor, but I'm guessing if this team's going to have a chance to do the things they want to do, they better have all their leaders in town developing themselves and developing the younger guys they're going to need to play really well.
It does bother me that you don't drink on the golf course. I think that's an unfair advantage. And maybe you take it just a little bit too seriously, you know?
See, but now you know why, you know,
right.
I can't do it. So you guys, you and Huge get into the beer and the White Claws and on the golf course.
What's a White Claw?
Yeah, sure, Balas, and I'll have a beer after I'm done when I'm looking at my scorecard and I'm below 80. That's the goal.
When you win, exactly.
That's
You're
right.
celebratory. Yeah, gotcha. Okay. What's your biggest concern about this team this fall, man? I'm looking at the roster, and I was looking at Washington's roster. Man, that's a pretty loaded roster, and I know that they struggled a little bit offensively last year. The Pac-12 has generally been underrated at times. Everybody looks at them and scoffs at them. Yet it's historically been really hard for the Big Ten to beat the Pac-12, to be honest. And
Yeah,
so they have
it has
athletes,
been. Yeah.
but
My biggest concern, there's two things that are so close. Number one, the interior of our defensive front. If we can't be stout up the middle of the defense, we're going to have problems everywhere else. And I think we got a chance to be decent on the edge with Hutch, and we got some talented guys in the backfield there with Daxton Hill at safety. I think there's some things to look for, but none of it matters if you're not strong up the middle, because offenses will just gut you. They'll just gut you, and if you can't stop it, you're in trouble. But right behind that concern is, what are we going to do offensively to get these guys into a rhythm and have an offense with some different tempos and some different abilities to put pressure on a defense. And I've talked about this multiple times, Balas, looking back into last year's offense, I thought was so basic and so easy to defend. We can look at the details as to why, the quarterback play, et cetera. That makes it even more complicated. But assuming we have good quarterback play, assuming we get good offensive line play, and our wide receivers are getting separation and making catches, the offense itself and what we're going to do concerns me based on what I saw a year ago with the same sort of cadence in the play clock usage. The ball was snapped about or same every time, so a defense can get used to jumping your snap count. We're not using the cadence in the snap of the ball to our advantage. How much we're able to adjust at the line of scrimmage. How much are we trying to get a defense to show its cards before the snap, changing the play at the line of scrimmage, letting that quarterback make decisions out there. The way the offense is constructed and ran concerns me based on what I saw a year ago.
yeah, without a doubt. And the quarterback play obviously is where it starts, man. It's time. It is time to get that elite quarterback play back in Ann Arbor. And of course, a lot of that is dependent upon what happens in front of him. I thought Wilton Spate took a step back because of the line in front of him. Frankly, you always talk about getting hit and how that affects a quarterback's confidence early in a game. I think Wilton Spate is exhibit A of that. This is a guy that I never thought would take a meaningful snap at Michigan, exceeded expectations, got hurt because the guys in front of him didn't do their job. Same thing with Brandon Peters, who got pummeled against Wisconsin. That just can't happen. So hopefully Sharon Moore does a good job with the guys up front. And I think there's a lot of talent there. I really do. It's just a matter of putting it all together. So he's Doug Skene. Skene, I appreciate your time as always, my friend. We'll do it again in a couple of weeks, and I look forward to seeing you on the golf course.
All right. Thanks, Balas. Go Blue.